sorry. This morning we have Holly Roper, who is one of our new librarians, been here just a few months, I think, right? Holly,
It's been April. It's been
April. Well,
on 4 months.
just a few months. 4 months. So she's based on the Lee County campus, and one of her duties is as an OER librarian is to help everybody find the resources that they need. So she is here this morning to share with you about how the library can help you, not only OER, but maybe some other things as well. So take it away, Ms. Holly.
All right. Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining me here today. As Rodney said, I am Holly Roper, the Instructional Services Librarian. I'm mainly based at the Lee County campus, but occasionally I will make trips up to the Chatham campus and over to the Harnett campus for programs. And I'm also working with the early colleges at Chatham and Harnett in various capacities. So I'm a little all over the place, but I think we all are. So I'm not really stuck in one area. If you need my assistance or if you want a meeting or an instructional session, let me know. I'll talk more about that as we proceed. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and get started. If it will load.
It was working great a few minutes ago.
It was. I know. It just worked. We just did this. All right, stop sharing. I think my computer here. We'll try again. Isn't this the way with technology, though?
Yeah.
You always think that you have it fit, and then it pulls a trick on you. I do apologize for the delay. We really did just test this. All right.
Okay, I think most everybody in here, with maybe one or two exceptions, have taught using Collaborate, and so they all fully understand. We've probably all experienced this, so don't panic. It's going to be okay. So take your time.
I'll just share this screen then. It seems one of my screens decided to stop working. All right. Can you see my screen now, the presentation?
No.
No. Oh, okay. For a year and a half, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe my monitor. Oh, isn't this the way of things?
Guys, I promise that we tested this. We came
We
early and we tested all this.
I'm not really sure what happened. One of my monitors just completely fell asleep. All right, so this is also instruction though, right? We're on our feet. Rodney, what I may end up doing is sharing my presentation with you and then asking you to share it with everyone on your screen.
Do you have it in
a... Give you cues to go along.
Is it straight PowerPoint or is it Google Slides?
It's Google Slides, so I'll send you a shareable link.
Yeah, just share with me the link.
Yeah. All right. All right. Here is the link.
Oh, okay. Oh, it says access denied.
All right. I am so sorry, y'all. We literally
I'm in.
Okay, there we go.
So,
thank you.
Let's see.
Whew, all right. On the fly. So if you just click present on the side rather than going into full screen, we'll be able to interact with everything. Up there in the right-hand corner next to the share button.
There it is.
Yep, there we
I
go.
use Google Slides often. There we go.
Yeah, I enjoy Google Slides because it auto-saves. I've had many times where I did something and it disappears. All right, again, a little bit of a delay. Sorry about that, y'all. But this session is what the library can do for you, instruction and OERs. Again, I am Holly Roper, the Instructional Services Librarian for CCCC. We can go to the next slide, Rodney. Thank you. I like to start off every session, instructional or workshop based, by going over what we will be doing. So first we will have a little bit of a warm up just so I can see where you are with your comfort with library services and what you've done in the past. We'll go over some basic information about the libraries on all campuses. I'll talk more about library instruction initiatives that we are doing and rolling out, as well as what we have done in the past. We will then move on to open educational resources, OERs, and the library to talk about the unique relationship that we have with OERs and what we can do for you to incorporate them into your courses. And then we will have a conclusion at the end where I will just ask you basically what sort of things that you are looking forward to for the semester and how I can best help you, and you will have time to ask questions. Now, of course, if you have a question during any of this, please feel free to raise your hand or put it in the chat, and we'll be able to monitor it, and we will try to address that as quickly as possible. All right, next slide, please. Okay, so we have a poll everywhere that, can you escape and then try to present again? Technology is not being my friend today. If not, we can always just improvise by using the chat function, which it looks like we may have to do. So if you'll go back to that first slide, how do you use the library? If you will, in the chat, just write some quick responses about how you use the library or how you have used the library in the past. I'll give you about 2 minutes to do this. All right, so about 1 more minute. If you will just put in the chat, how do you use the library? Okay, there we go. Embedded librarian, okay. Coming in and giving an overview of resources available for group projects. Haven't used the library, that's fine. That's what we're here for, to give you more information about things. But you've used materials on your own, great. Tutorials, yes, tutorials for students, sending students in person. Not as much as you would like, that's all right. We're hoping to try and be an open resource for you and maybe help you incorporate that more into your course. For research, databases, movies, of course, embedded librarian and student tutorials. All right. All right. And instructional videos. Yes, we have lots of resources for those things. All right, great. So it looks like everyone, for the most part, has used the library in some way, shape, or form, even if it's just for personal research or, you know, checking out a DVD. So if you'll go to the next slide, please. How do you want to use the library in like your dream of dreams for your ideal semester? How would you want to use the library? Same thing, about 2 minutes to reflect and respond in the chat. Okay, about 1 more minute. Student research projects, yes. Fearlessly, yes, for students. I like that, using the library fearlessly. I'll have to incorporate that if you don't mind me stealing it. OER, yeah, in a perfect world, maybe some help with converting a course from text to OER, of course. Yeah, that's one of our overarching goals here at CCCC, but especially within the library. Learning more about news resources. Yes, that is critically important now. It's something that we are definitely here to help with. Embedded librarian and databases. Yes. About 30 more seconds. How do you want to use the library, or ideally use the library in your dream semester? UNC System Library to access journals and databases, OERs, and student research. Yes, that is something that we can definitely do and that we are looking into is our partnership across the state with various community college libraries, but also with libraries within the UNC system. Great. Okay, these are some really good goals and definitely things that I will go back through and make note of so that we can work together. Yeah. All right, thank you. Thank you so much for your participation. Hopefully we're all in the right mindset now that our tech is somewhat working. So if you'll go to the next slide, please, Rodney. All right, some basic information about the libraries. We are, of course, still looking to see what is going on with coronavirus. We are still in the midst of a pandemic, but I just want to go over some things that we are doing right now to make sure that you are safe. If you will go to the next slide, please. There we go. So our COVID precautions. We are, of course, as CCCC is, mandating masks when inside buildings. We have hand sanitizer available for everyone to use, multiple stations of hand sanitizer, some up at the circulation desk, others at the entrances. I'm looking out right now into the library. We have many, many signs put up that tell the people and patrons that masks are required and that if they need one, you can have one. We have ordered many boxes of disposable masks so that everyone has access to them. We are also sanitizing our workstations right after people use them. We have signs that we ask patrons flip over once they are done using a workstation, a table, a computer, a study room, and it goes from green to red, and then we come around immediately and clean it and make sure that everything is squared away and safe for the next person to use. Next slide, please. All right, library services, if you could click. We, of course, have our normal resources, a lot of physical resources. You can, of course, borrow materials such as books and audiobooks and ebooks, CDs, popular DVDs. We have quite a large popular DVD section. Laptops, which is very popular. We have a lot of students coming in right now to get a laptop for the semester, try to meet that technological need. That is a process, but it's a very quick process when we think about it. We just have to fill out a specific form and check it out to the patron, to the student at that time. And of course, ILL services, interlibrary loan services. So if you have something that, or a student has something that you want, but that we don't physically have at this library or at any of the CCCC libraries, we always get that through interlibrary loan services from other institutions. If you could click. Thank you. So research help, of course, we are available through call, email, chat, or dropping in order to get research help from reference librarians and staff. And of course, you can schedule, and your students can schedule one-on-one appointments online to just set aside some time to talk about whatever your needs are, whether they're instructional or research reference, whatever that may be. And I know a lot of instructors take advantage of this and encourage their students to take advantage of this throughout the semester to get assistance with projects and papers, etc. If you could click one more time, please. And of course, study rooms. We do have study rooms available. We are trying to limit the size of groups going into them just because of the pandemic, the ongoing pandemic. But we have 5 study rooms. 4 of them can comfortably probably seat about 2 to 3 people, and then we have one larger one that can comfortably seat about 4 to 5 people. And these are all available to book either in person at the circulation desk. We can pull up the form for you or your students to use, and of course it is available online through the library website. And I will go through in a little bit and show you exactly where some of these resources are. If you'll click. All right, basic library hours, if you can just click 3 times. There we go. All right, the Chatham campus is open from Monday to Thursday, 9 to 8 p.m., Friday 9 to 6, Saturday 9 to 5, closed Sundays. Harnett and Lee are a bit more similar. Monday through Thursday, 7:30 a.m. to 7 p.m., and Friday, 7:30 to 3:30, and closed on weekends. And then the Lee campus, we are open from 7:30 a.m. to 8 p.m. starting next week once the semester starts. But then on Fridays, our hours are shortened to 7:30 a.m. to 3:30 p.m., and we are, of course, closed on weekends. So during that time, we can schedule instructional sessions, we can have meetings with students, and we are fully available. There will be a librarian on campus available to assist you in whatever way you need. Right, next slide, please. Okay, library instruction. Next slide. Okay, if you could click. All right, so we have 2 different modalities that we're really looking at, of course, during distance ed and in-person ed during the pandemic. We have synchronous options, so those are in real time options. Those are research sessions that we could lead with you in your course. Information literacy lessons where we can talk to your students about how do you find information that is valid or that is trustworthy, and how can we think about how information is created and dispersed, and really get into really in-depth critical thinking about the creation and consumption of information in various forms. We also, of course, have basic how-to lessons. Many of you mentioned wanting to get your students to learn about databases and research, so we will be more than happy to do lessons on databases, citations, library services, whatever topic that we can assist you with. And now, this synchronous instruction is available online and in person. So online, we could, of course, do something very similar to this using a Collaborate link or Google Meets or Zoom, whatever your preference is. And in person, safety permitting, of course. We are trying to limit the size of groups that come into the library. And if you have a larger class and the pandemic is, the case numbers are still rising and we're just not really comfortable having everyone crammed into the lab, if they do come into the library, we could possibly split those up into some smaller groups. But of course, if it is within your classroom, we can come in and just make sure that everything is safe and ready to go. All right, you could click again. And then, of course, we have asynchronous. These are things that are available at any time, not necessarily limited to a specific time window or day. These are especially helpful if you want to assign them to students for extra credit or homework or as part of your lessons, or just to direct your students to them for more information on specific topics. Now, these are information literacy instruction modules that we have created in various formats. Again, just talking about how information is created and how it is consumed and how to really think critically about where that information comes from. And then, of course, our how-to modules on research, databases, citations, and library services. All right, if you could go to the next slide. Now, we have a couple of different ways that we can provide these asynchronous materials. Currently, what we've been using for the past couple of years are things known as H5p modules. Now, these are interactive slideshows in a way. We have created them so that your students can progress through a concept. This one is learning how to do search strategies, and embedded throughout those modules we have questions or quick check-ins such as the one seen here. So we will go over and have information about a specific topic and about a specific skill that we're trying to teach, and then we'll have quick check-ins embedded within that such as the one that you see here, just quick check, key concepts or the core ideas of a research question, true, false, and then the student can go through and click check, and then they can have a score at the end of that asynchronous module. Now, the only downside of these is that really we can't track a lot of metadata about them, a lot of statistics about how long students are spending on them, how many attempts they have for certain questions, or recording full scores for these. So we are looking to something else. That is, of course, PlayPosit, which there is going to be a session at 2 p.m. I think this afternoon, if you're not as familiar with it, where these modules are a bit more in-depth, a bit more interactive. But right now we're focusing on the H5p modules, and I'm trying to look ahead to see if we can convert a lot of these, which are used in our embedded courses, into PlayPosit modules, excuse me. You could go to the next slide. So PlayPosit module is usually an interactive video that has questions or checks or information embedded throughout it. And like I said before, it is a bit more heavy on the metadata and what we can tell about a student's interaction with this module. They can go through and answer questions, and we can set how many times we will allow the student to retry the question. And if they get a question wrong, there's also the option to have the student go back and watch the video segment where the answer and the information was covered and then retry again. So these modules, I won't go super in depth with them because there is a session at 2 p.m., but I would be more than happy to talk about them one-on-one later or at the end of this session. These modules we're looking at because we have a license at CCCC for it. We really want to get in depth and try to assess how good our modules are and if they're really effective and if students are finding them to be worthwhile to use to learn some of these key concepts. So this is something that I'm currently working on to convert our H5p modules into PlayPosit modules. They'll both still be available, but just really using them to assess students' growth and understanding of concepts in a little bit more of an interactive way. All right, next slide, please. All right, so several of you mentioned this already, Embedded Librarians. It is a program that we have here that we are very proud of. Thank you, Rodney. So you can click the next one too. There we go. All right, so these are standard in English 111, English 112, Psych 150, and Soc 210. Now, I am the instructional embedded librarian for English 111 courses. Right now, I think I'm embedded in 52 sections of English 111 for the coming semester. But we each have a specific librarian for these 4 courses. So Samantha O'Connor, the director and former librarian in my position, is in English 112. Our new outreach and assessment librarian at the Harnett campus, Morgan Pruitt, is in Psych 150. And of course, Dana Haven up at the Chatham campus is in charge of the Soc 210 courses. Now, what does it mean to be an embedded librarian? Well, an embedded librarian is when we are embedded and put into and inserted into your Blackboard course as a fellow instructor. Think of this as like almost a TA for your course. We have the ability to add and grade and basically do a lot of different things within your Blackboard course to assist you and your students. We generally provide research assistance and library and information literacy instruction in whatever way that you would like. A lot of times this is seen through a section or a link within your Blackboard course where we have our materials pulled together into an easy to use place for students to have access to, but other instructors have actually used our modules and used this time as one of their own units of study. So using the library, especially towards the middle of the semester when a lot of research projects are happening. Spaces are limited. We are at this point available to embed in some more courses. So if you're really interested in this, we have a form online that you can go onto and request an embedded librarian, and then we'll just set up a consultation with you to see what your needs are and to see which librarian at that point would be the best fit for your course. All right, next slide, please. And this is just an example of what I mentioned. This is a typical example of what the library section will look like in your course when you have an embedded librarian. There will, of course, be a menu on the side that you scroll down to, and there will be a content area. Usually it's called Library and Research Help, but several other instructors have put just Online Librarian or Embedded Librarian as the title for that section, whatever your preference is. It's your course. We're just assisting with it. And within that, we will build content and add modules in, including the chat function. It will be embedded within your course. So if your students need help and they're working on an assignment for you, they can quickly go over to the Library and Research Help section, and the chat function is embedded right there into the course, and they can talk with a librarian 24/7 to get assistance with research or just to answer some questions. Now, we personally, the CCCC librarians, are not available 24/7, but we have a after hours group that we contract out with where they are fully licensed librarians, and they're available to help your students if they are 11 p.m. Trying to find some last minute citations for their assignment that is due at 11:55 that night, and they will be there able to assist them and help them. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Thank you. Now, with our technology, I was going to go through, and depends on how comfortable you feel with this, Rodney. This is an embedded link. I was going to go and show you some faculty resources on our website. Would you feel comfortable being my guide through this? If not, we can always just wait till another time.
Holly, were you talking to me?
Yes. Are you
I'm
comfortable with
sorry.
that? No, it's fine.
No, I don't. I can try, but I have a student in my office too. So,
Okay, we won't try it then. We'll just leave
okay.
that for another time. But I will say before we move on, so this is our library homepage. We have here our summon feature in the middle. That is just where students and you, of course, can search for information, databases, articles, books, videos. Basically, it's a master search. And we can go through, or you can go through and narrow down your search by full text online, peer reviewed. That's really helpful for students because I know they have a lot of assignments where they need to find peer reviewed sources, and some of them are just like, I don't know what that is. What is peer reviewed? And we can easily tell them, click this section right here, peer reviewed, and you will be able to find just materials that are from peer reviewed sources. And then we'll of course explain to them what peer reviewed means. You probably have done that already, but we will just reiterate it again just to help them in any way that we can. We also have up at the top underneath the college libraries heading, services tab, find it tab, and a faculty tab, which is what I was going to show you specifically. Now, under that faculty tab, I can give you actually the link to it within the chat. This is just our library homepage there. Within the faculty tab, there are various links there and pages where you can go through and meet librarians within your content area, request in the embedded librarian, which I spoke of before, and various other things such as getting your ID made and learning more about distance education services. So there are lots of really great resources. If you haven't explored that before, please do. But I will always be able to answer any questions that you have towards the end. All right, next slide, please, Ronnie. Oh, careful. Oh, there you go. You can click back over to the slideshow up in the tabs. I won't make you be my hand for this. Okay. All right. Open Educational Resources, OERs. So let's talk a little bit about what OERs are and how the library can be of assistance if you are interested in learning more about them and in using them in your course. So if you'll go to the next slide, please. All right, what are OERs? They are open educational resources. Now, what does that mean? Well, open educational resources are resources, educational materials, whether that's courses, articles, videos, textbooks, etc., that are fully open and free for you to use. Now, what exactly does that mean? Fully open, free to use? What are the parameters? These are a lot of questions that we have when we learn about OERs. So if we go to the next slide, please, and click twice. So OERs are free and legal to use. They usually fall under one of the 3 licenses or areas to be able to use freely and legally without having to go and, you know, illicitly copy pages of a textbook, because, you know, we've all been there sometimes. But it's not the most kosher way to deal with getting around expensive materials or materials that are very hard to find. So they are free and legal to use. They either have a Creative Commons license when they were created, allowing people to use them in a variety of ways. The material may be within the public domain and therefore free for everyone to use, or it may be under a free license. Now, OERs, these materials are also customizable, and that's what really makes them so great for embedding in your course and using in your course, because you can use them however you want. So if you will click 5 times, please. It was much more flashy whenever I was able to use this myself. So customizable, you are able to, there are the 5 R's of OERs. You are able to, 1, redistribute these materials, these open educational resources. So you can give them to as many people as you want, because there is not a limit on them. They are free and open to use. That is the purpose of them in the first place, is that they are created so that they can be distributed to people, whether that's other instructors that are teaching your course or teaching something like your course, or to your students. You can distribute it to them without having to worry about meeting specific educational requirements to get around copyright law. You can retain those materials. You can keep them as long as you want. There is no time limit on a license. They are retainable. You can print them off. You can save them on your hard drive. You can save them within your classroom, and you won't have to worry about renewing a license over and over again to be able to keep those materials. You can also revise them. You can go through and edit them and update them as quickly as possible, so that the information available within them is as relevant as possible and is up to date. You can reuse them in any way that you want to. You are not limited to just one-time use. You can use them in multiple courses and in multiple different areas. And then, of course, you can remix them. So that's something that's really great for our courses here at CCCC, is that you don't have to use the entirety of something that is classified as an OER. If you come across a textbook in an OER database that you only really need like 1 or 2 chapters from, you don't have to take that entire textbook. You can take sections of it and then pull it together, remix it, use what you need, and just use those sections. You don't have to worry about falling underneath a certain license of using a certain percentage. You can go through and delete entire sections of something that's just not applicable to your students, that may be far more technical than they need to know, and just use those portions of that educational resource for your students. So this is really the 4 R's. They're very helpful and very, very great for making sure that we have these materials that are open, free to use. And I think the free to use thing is really critical, because textbooks are very expensive. They're expensive for students to purchase and to have that burden of, you know, buying a $300 science textbook sometimes. Or now what's really popular is buying a code to an online textbook, so they can't even have it beyond when the time they purchase it. It's got an expiration date. So OERs are really great for getting around that and trying to make sure that our education and that our instruction is as equitable as possible, and that as many people as possible can use it and benefit from it. Next slide, please. So OERs and the library. So at the library, we can help you find OERs. I've done this several times over the summer in my short time here, assisting instructors with their course maps, trying to find materials that are free and open to use for them to try and make their courses more financially accessible to more people. We can help you find those through a variety of databases. We are librarians and library staff. That's kind of what we do. We love to find things and we love a little bit of a challenge. We can also help you assess OERs for accessibility, because not every OER is completely accessible. They have to be screen readable. If it is a video, we need to have, of course, accurate and accessible captions for those so that people with any sort of hearing disability can be able to read along, or just, you know, I find it difficult whenever I'm watching a video to sometimes keep track, especially if it's like a, you know, crash course US history, which is something that I used a lot whenever I was a teacher. They speak really, really quickly, and so it really helps to have those closed captions below. We can also, of course, help you navigate copyright. So if something is not within a full creative license, because some OERs are not completely open for every single thing that you possibly want to do with them, we can help you navigate those creative licenses and try to see what you can do and what sort of materials would fit your needs. And then, of course, we can assist with integrating OERs into your course. If you're interested in them and curious about them, but just need a bit of help, we are here for you. We're here to help you try and integrate them into your course in the best way possible and meet your students' needs. You could click again, please. Now, there are courses, I'm sure you know, at CCCC that are fully OER. 20+ courses are fully OER courses. And this includes our 2 courses that we have embedded librarians in, Psych 150 and Soc 210. Now, we are trying to get, and we have in progress, English 111 and English 112 to be fully OER courses. And I believe that we are almost there. We have a couple more classes for the Associate of Arts and the Associate of Science to be fully available as OER degrees. We do have a little bit more work to do within the math and foreign language departments, but I'm working with the distance ed and with the instructional services department, instructional designers, to try and find these materials and make sure that we are as open and accessible and equitable in our instruction as possible. Next slide, please. Now, this is a tool. Let me go ahead and put it into the chat. This is a tool that I've been learning a lot about during my time here at CCCC. So this is an open educational resource database that is created by the North Carolina Community Colleges Association. It is open in CCC, lots of C's. We have a lot of C's. I've kind of taken to calling it Open NC Cubed, just to cut down on the amount of C's to say or forget or remember. Now, this database is really, really helpful. I think I will ask you this time, Rodney, if you could click on the picture. Just want you to see what sort of options there are. And if you could just click in the subject area, please. So what's really good about this resource is that you can find specific OERs for your course. You can go by education level, topic, arts and humanities, curriculum education, course alignment. You can actually go in and find materials for specific courses such as English 111. So what happens is that they have a lot of materials that they have been able to pull into this database or create for this database. And so they are tagged for specific courses sometimes or topics, and you can continue to narrow it down by subject area. So yeah, so if we go to, you choose art, which is always hard. And then from course, you can choose which specific course that you are searching for and what sort of open educational resources are available. Now, I will say that not every material that is available and usable for courses has been tagged yet. That is something that they are working on, that I'm actually doing too. When you create an account through this, you can go through, find resources, and then if they have not been tagged for a specific course, but you know that they are good for a specific course, such as English 111 or Art 111, you can then add that tag yourself, so that more people can be able to find it, and so that we can really build up the resources for those courses to try and get as close as possible to a fully OER course. So this is a really great tool that I've spent a lot of time exploring, but I am no master at it yet. And that actually leads me into my next slide. You'll go back, thank you. Now, there is, I've talked to the people in charge of training for Open NCCC tool about setting up a workshop sometime this semester for all of us, for library staff, but also anyone at CCCC who is interested to learn more about OERs and this tool that we have here. I have created a form that I would just like to get a little bit of feedback from y'all. If you would be interested in attending a workshop like this to learn more about this tool, how can you incorporate OERs into your course and use this tool to try and meet your OER needs. There is a QR code here if you just want to scan it with your phone. It's a very short interest survey, but I have put it into the chat here. And if you just want to spend some time, I think we're going to be able to end a little bit early. We've got about 8 minutes left. I do want to be able to answer any questions that you have. But I've put the link into the chat if you want to open that up and come back to it. It's a very short survey. I just want to see if there would be an interest in setting up a workshop and what times would work best for you. So if you go to the next slide. So thank you all very much for attending today and for sticking with us through these technical difficulties that we had at the beginning. Thank you to Rodney for being my mouse during all of this. If you want to email me, my email is there, hroper@cccc.edu. My information is also available on the CCCC Library website that I put in the link. And yeah, you can go ahead and stop sharing. And we do have a little bit of time left, so if you have any questions, please let me know how I can answer them and best help you. Oh, you're welcome. I'm glad to be here. Yes, the chat feature is still 24/7. So if you go onto the library homepage, it is right there embedded at the first level, and you or your students or anyone really, if they have a question, can tell the librarian 24/7. I can't say that I will be available at 11 o'clock at night myself currently, but we do have a service that we contract out to where there are librarians available at those times 24/7. Yeah, so there's the question, didn't see what you're looking for. Steps to help research and create OER resources for a class. Better time of the semester. I would say that the best time is probably before the semester begins, but I'm fully available throughout the semester for consultations. I am embedded in some classes, and I'm going to be leading a lot of instruction, but of course we have slow points during the semester, the ebb and the flow of instruction, and of course research projects. Right now, I'm pretty open if you would like to email me about what your needs are and how I can best help you and find some of these OERs for your course. I'd be more than happy to set aside some time and have us have a meeting to be able to discuss what you need and how I can best help you. Thank you for that question. Any other questions? We've got about 5 minutes left. You're welcome. Okay, so if there are no more questions, which is perfectly fine, just gave you all a lot of information. The chat does have the links if you want to scroll back through and open them up for Open NCCC, so many C's, I always forget, and the library interest survey for that tool that I would really appreciate if you filled out, just so I can get a bit of a feel about setting up a workshop with them to learn more about the tool and try to answer any questions that you have. And of course, my email is hroper@cccc.edu if you have any questions or needs, or if you just want to chat about your course and how the library can best integrate with that. Please let me know. I'm available most times. Not at 11 o'clock at night, but I really look forward to working with you all, and please let me know if you have any questions. And another round of applause for Rodney for helping me out and working around our technical difficulties at the beginning of this session. So thank you all very much, and I hope you have a great day.
Thanks, everybody. Ashley, I sent you a direct message. I don't know if you saw it or not.